Yeah. Hello again. It's as if we've never been away. oh, we're talking about that movie, are we? and all of the
Covers.
obligatory sequels. Yes, we are talking Wes Craven again, and this time it's Scream from 1996. It's down as a classic slasher movie, with a lot of nods to other movies, shall we say?
Oh my God!
A lot of references to the Carpenter movies and Wes Craven's other movies. So let's go over to these two with their opening thoughts on the original 1996 Scream.
Okay, well, originally it was going to be called Scary Movie, and we know they've had 5 of those. I don't think they're doing any more.
Are those the spoofs?
Yeah, those are the spoofs. Unfortunately, after the 3rd movie, most people agreed that there was no mileage in the Scary Movie franchise. And it's sort of the well, I shouldn't say that. It's sort of the cousin, but it was supposed to be Scary Movie was supposed to be Scream, and then Scream changed to Scream, and then they have a movie within a movie there called the Stab movies, of which those are fictionalized, but they're led by Tori Spelling and other famous TV actors or whatever. There are TV actors in this series of Scream movies. These ones are interesting because they survived the other teen slasher movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer, and they have Sarah Michelle Gellar, who was in the Buffy TV series franchise. And originally that was supposed to be a comedy movie as well, which it was, but that was a different actress.
Yeah.
That had Donald Sutherland as well, who is connected to Halloween as well. This guy that wrote the beginning of the movies, Kevin Williamson, was also known for a lot of other teen, like Urban Legend and a couple of other weird offshoots. And I think they were trying to do that with the Halloween series as well. They tried to remake that in the 90s and stuff. So this is weird that it's sort of, it is a teen slasher flick, but it's smarter than most of the other ones, except for maybe The Craft. The Craft came out before Scream, and Scary Movie came after the Scream movies, but it was, the first 2 movies were basically ripping that off in Friday the 13th. And of course, because we're in the postmodern age and we're postmodern of postmodern, and we're going into the 21st century, and the benefit is these movies are still being filmed when the internet is around, whereas all the other movies before it, the internet was not around. And the only other reason possibly why they could be remembered is because of the advent of the VCR in the 70s, but it was very expensive. The 80s, they finally reduced the price. And of course, those movies also had the benefit of having, millions and millions of screens, where now you can watch stuff on the internet.
Yeah.
I watched the rest of the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies on YouTube. So that's kind of interesting, even though, again, it's not as good as Scream. So these ones are interesting because you have it in the modern age. They have them with the modern cell phones. The other movies that Wes Craven has made were not in that era or that type of technology. They are making tons of references. I've even seen it on YouTube. There's a couple of YouTube streamers that are huge authorities on Scream. And of course, you have the gentleman as well, who is the scary voice. It is a white guy. His name is Roger L. Jackson. He is a voice actor. He is 65 now. They've brought him back for the movies and part of the TV series. I guess he couldn't do it for part of the TV. MTV had it as Scream, the TV show, but it was only the first season that was somewhat doing tribute to the Scream movies. Then they changed it in the second season. Then they changed it again in the third season. Send it over to VH1, which I don't quite understand that one, because VH1 is a slightly out of date audience for 1996. And the Scream movies are supposed to have teenagers or college kids, not except for Dewey and maybe Courtney Cox's character. They're supposed to be younger. They're supposed to be in their late 30s or early 40s. So when I saw this in the theater, it was new. Wes Craven, of course, knows what he's doing. He died recently in 2015 of brain cancer. He had to update it. It did update the genre. It did improve the teen and college movies. Although I do love a lot of B movies, and this is right on the edge of it.
Yep.
Some people say that Scream 4 and 5 are more teenage. It's kind of hard too, because that's the other issue with all horror movies and all science fiction movies, is that usually the first one is great because it's new. As you go into the sequels, they get more and more watered down, and it becomes an imitation of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Which a lot of people say that even the first 3 Scream movies, even if people like it, they love the first one. They love the first one with Drew Barrymore, who we know was in E.T. and Firestarter, the original one. And that's the other problem too, is the fact that now we have remakes on top of remakes on top of remakes now. So, but yeah. So I mean, I do like the Scream series. There's only a few disappointments that I have with the Scream series, and of course they're rushing the new one, Scream 6, in 2023. I didn't see a lot of the TV show, also, but anyway, go ahead, guys.
Okay. My my first time seeing this was fairly recently, like a couple of years ago.
All right.
And then I watched. I did a rewatch this week for obvious reasons. But the interesting thing was about this movie was how it showed how, people who are, people you want to be able to trust, somebody who you're in a relationship with, someone who is part of your friendship circle. It just, they can be so fucking crazy. Like these 2 boys are just a nightmare, and I don't know how they maintain their friendships outside of their party scene, and it's just ridiculous. And the comedy moments, the funny bits in this really were what saved it, because I mean that kind of relational matrix is just fucked up. It's so fucked up. And I just felt I mean, like, I like horror movies that are like jump scares and stuff like that. And these murders take place in these beautiful, beautiful homes. Fucking $3-4 million homes. You just gotta go, oh my gosh. And they even have security dogs and stuff like that. Like there's all these things that and then they anyway, thing of it is that these kids, I mean, it's kind of based on bullying, and it's kind of based on abuse and abusive relationships, and it's kind of based on kids who just go ape shit and start killing people. So it's just like those aspects of it are really incredible. But then the fact that the one kid has her brother, and her brother's a cop, that helps. I mean, they obviously survived for for 5 more movies. So that's a good thing. You
Well,
know?
Dewey did, but I mean, his sister didn't. Even though I don't know how big they're, I guess they were like only 10 years apart. But the other ironic part is that these were produced by the Weinsteins. We know who they are.
Christ Almighty!
And
Yeah.
then the fact of the weird, not that I want to
Oh,
take anything
yuck.
seriously, but the Rose McGowan who played Tatum in this movie then came out 3 years later or 5 years later or more, and she actually left Hollywood after she did the original Charmed.
But
And
she's
all that. But I mean,
but I mean she was one. I mean all of these are good actors. They're like
yeah,
Screed
they're decent
Alrich is
actors, yeah.
really really good actor,
Yeah.
and you know David what's his last name?
Okay.
Arquette is
Yeah,
great,
another
and
acting family.
yeah.
So let's get Lee to his first thoughts because we're going into the cast. We should be
Okay.
going into.
Well, I just loved the whole references to other movies. You know, what was the Michael Myers? What was the killer's name in Friday the 13th? Jason. She got that wrong, of course.
Yeah.
And also the the little wisecracks about what was it, Nightmare on Elm Street, but the rest of them was a load of crap.
Right.
That was that's a Wes Craven movie, crapping on his own movie.
That was pretty cool. I laughed at that.
I mean, it did the scene with Drew Barrymore where she's near the TV and that, and he's asking about the killer, the killer in Friday the 13th, and she gets it wrong because it was the mother. So they sort of reenacted the scene because he threw the chair through the window, exactly like Jason jumped through the window
Right.
in the movie. So they were sort of doing sort of same scenes at the beginning of the movie.
Well, like I said, there's this guy I know on the YouTube, and he is partially right that basically a lot of the movies are doing either a recreation or sort of an inspiration for, and that Drew Barrymore scene was from the movies of the late 70s, early 80s of, he's inside the house. That's where that joke came from. It's not Jaws anymore. We've moved past that in Star Wars. We're talking about like he knows you're alone, or when he calls back, or whatever. This sort of
and the phone calls coming, the calls
right.
coming
So
from
it's right. So it's It's a stalker movie, but it's not quite there yet. It's like in between Jaws and in between.
But it's not really. It's not entirely stalker.
Right.
It's abusive relationships.
Okay. Well,
and
yeah.
and it's also serial killing. These two boys turn out to be serial killers.
Yeah, well, I was going to say they were all the students were fans of horror movies because they used to ask questions about them. The killers, because yes, look, spoilers, there is two.
Yeah.
That's why there could be in two places at once. For some reason, they went totally psychotic. I don't know what turned them.
Then maybe they were just broken brains, like the family in People Under the Stairs.
Well, like I said, I mean, we're giving away the movie now. We're giving away the movie ending, but
that's fine. It's not too soon. This has been out for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, who was it? It was Matthew Lillard, wasn't it? And Skeet Ulrich. Who ends out to be the killers, but was they in a relationship?
Well, no. What happened was the what was her name? Sydney's mother and I guess her sister and maybe another relative were getting kind of sexually liberated, and that made the townspeople mad at them. And then Sydney didn't find out about it until like the murder. And that's where she thought Cotton had did it. I guess Cotton had been there or slept with her mother, but she thought that he was the killer when he wasn't. He just slept with her and then left. And that's where Courtney Cox's character came in, because she was right all along. That
But
Sydney didn't have it correctly.
Right, but
figured out.
the thing was with that was like there was a problem with those boys that they had done it to her mother.
Right, but they were able to get away with it because they confessed to Sydney that they had done it. The other thing was that in the movie they even said, because remember, this is postmodernist in the internet text era of the horror movies, not the before, of, Sydney said, well, did watching all these movies, because you can watch a horror movie, you can watch a science fiction movie, it doesn't mean that you're going to do anything in that movie. And even one of them said, it doesn't make us killers, it just makes us more creative. So so that's the other flip side of it. Because hopefully not everybody, because if everybody was doing everything they saw in a movie or TV show, we'd be in a very different universe and a warped, even more warped than it already is. But the funny thing was, then you had the Jamie Kennedy character, who was great, acting like these are almost documentaries or something. Going, there's very simple rules, and he's getting a little too wrapped up in it, a little too much in the analysis.
Okay. Let me tell you what that is. That's being a geek, and that's why being a geek is a good thing.
Are you sure?
That's why we're here assembled.
Everybody knows the rules of horror movies.
Right.
You do. Everybody. You don't go walking off on your own.
Yeah, you don't say, I'll be right back. Oh.
It's a known fact, isn't it?
No, but the funny thing is, in the movie, Jamie Kennedy's character, who we know is a little off himself in a way, but hopefully in a good way.
He's just a geek.
Anyway, where even Rose McGowan's character, Tatum's character, said, I thought they fired your ass from the video store. I was like, video store? We're still being a little dated, aren't we? Or he goes, he's eating his popcorn or his nuts or whatever outside. He goes, they fired me twice and rehired, so he's still there at the video store. So I understand that he's, upset about, it's a very simple formula, but he's saying it right in front of everybody. They're looking at him.
That was great. And
then it was funny the way the two boys kind of hugged him, one from the front, one from the back. They're playing with his earlobe and all this. And then it's so funny that Matthew Lillard was Scooby-Doo, also with Sarah Michelle Gellar, who was in the second Scream. So that's kind of, interesting casting.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my head around the Stu and the Billy sort of relationship, right. Because I can understand the Billy side of it, because he was affected by Sydney's mother and what happened
his father.
Yeah.
But the Stu thing with Matthew Lillard, I don't understand his part in that.
Yeah.
Because there was no explanation why he was doing any of it.
I think they were doing it together. I think that he was just like going along with his friend.
Yeah, because everything in this movie, where the love between Sydney and Billy was non-existent. He was lying to her all through the movie.
Yep.
He never loved her.
No.
Even if yeah. So it was. I think it was more scary, this movie, when the killers are revealed. Because for me personally, Ghostface is not very scary.
Well, it might be when it's coming at you with a weapon, but other than
that, look at the scary Jason mask, right. Michael Myers mask,
yeah,
and then you've got a comedic Ghostface. It's not very scary.
Well, you also have the phone calls as well. So I mean
The phone
that's
calls,
kind of
yes.
all. Yeah.
Admittedly, the phone calls is rather
And the voice changer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
so
later used by
the other
in Batman.
uh,
Yeah. Well, but
But
the other thing too is as we go into the later movies, of course, they start imitating what was in the first one, which was an homage to when a stranger calls, he knows you alone and all that. And originally, I guess Drew Barrymore was supposed to be the star, but she helped West say, "Well, let me get killed off." And nobody expects me, a big star or star of ET and Firestarter and all that, to be the first one killed off. And like I said to Susie, now Nev Campbell is doing something else. I don't think she's going to be a number 6. She even said on Twitter that they couldn't negotiate. But the funny thing is, she was in The Craft, and she was one of the villains in The Craft. And then the fact that she's Canadian, and she was in a lot of B TV shows that was kind of imitating Baywatch. Because remember, this is the '90s, so they still had a little bit of that,
well,
although yeah,
to me, this film had just the feeling of Beverly Hills Nano, whatever it was, 0.67, 1.5. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It was college kids, well off college kids, um, partying all the time. And I thought it was just like another X-rated episode of Beverly Hills. Um, that's the feeling I got.
yep.
Well,
But
again, I mean that's partially the decade, but no,
yeah,
it's where either teenagers or college, and then it's very funny too when Henry Winkler ends up being the
and
prince.
he's uncredited in this. He's not even in the credits.
Well, of course, the funny thing is, as much as I like the Fonz from Happy Days, that was in the '70s, and he did actually go to school in Boston because we have a few acting schools, and he was also the producer. He also had the girl from Poltergeist in the TV show of Happy Days, the last few seasons, and then he went over to produce for the original MacGyver TV show in the '80s, and then he went to be another kill in this Scream movie, and he also has Wes Craven as the janitor in the Freddy sweater as
Yeah,
well.
and do you know what the janitor was called?
Fred.
Fred.
Yeah. So it is kind of funny how and I think that's why this is the movie that sort of forced all the teen comedies and the other teen horror movies except for The Craft to up their game because they were doing so much homage and postmodern
Plastique
and pastiche, and it was good though. It was good. Now, yeah, Matthew Lillard's character is wild.
Yeah.
Don't really give a reason for why he decides to join in and become a serial killer. And then because you have Ghostface, that's the other mystery in all these movies. But the problem is they reveal it at the end too, so that might be another short. I know some people would say, "Don't reveal who it is." That would be more scary. You don't know who it was.
As I said, I thought when the killers were revealed,
Yeah,
that was more intense with the scenes of those two just going psychotic and just stabbing each other for just to cover their story.
Yeah, I
yeah.
thought that the I mean that really they were in a tight romance.
This is what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking they were in a romantic thing
Yeah,
because
because somehow Screech's character was able to manipulate a large character into doing these things.
Well, yeah,
yeah,
that's the other question too. Is that because they're wearing a mask, you can't always tell. Did when Tatum got killed in the garage, was that Billy or was that Stu? Because Stu was dating her. So, but as James Kennedy's, character said, there was a previous history that they didn't really explain until the end of the movie.
that would have been Stu
Yeah, maybe.
because Billy was upstairs with Sydney.
Yeah, maybe. Well, the funny thing is, then they did the super postmodern thing for going, please don't kill me, Mr. Slasher. I want to be in the sequel. So
Well, there's a
so,
point.
yeah,
I did find with Henry, going back to Henry Winkler, the scene, they played the principal, where the sheriff comes to the school and he takes Sydney into the office and wants to talk to Sydney.
right.
I thought it was a bit creepy though, the way the principal was a bit touchy feely with her,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird.
stroking a chin and holding a chin. And I'm thinking, but there was no reason given for that either.
For him to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing too, that it's all very I've watched it with some people and they've gone the body language, some of them said they were taken out of the movie because they thought everybody's body language was off. And I go, well, it's also a horror movie. Would it make sense if everybody's body language made sense? I mean, most people aren't paying that much attention. Some people would probably say we're taking it too seriously.
Well, that's what we do. We're geeks.
If that's being put in the movie, they should really give an explanation for it. Don't put it in the movie for nothing. No reason at all.
Again, the other person I mentioned on YouTube did mention too. People forget there's a lot of scenes that are cut for time as well. And I also thought it was weird that the principal would even use the scissors on anybody's body. But I mean, he was a weird character, and at the end, he was playing with the mask himself. So obviously, some people when I've watched it with some people, they've actually liked the original Scary Movie because the original Scary Movie was a total spoof of Scream.
Yeah, that's what I was
making fun of David Arquette's character, that he was, really stupid, et cetera, et cetera. Where in this one, he's not stupid, but he's not too bright either. Of course, he got killed in the new movie, but that might be giving away spoilers.
That's okay.
And some people would actually say, because I saw it on the airplane, and they went, "Wow, this isn't a great version of the first movie," because that also the end of the movie, the new version, Scream 2022. Does actually, it's more in common, especially the ending. The ending takes place in a kitchen as well.
Oh.
So I kind of went, that's a little bit. Now,
not original then.
Yeah, so the death scenes were a little different in that, but not totally different, and it did take place in a kitchen. But yeah, I did know before, because I've rented these before, that there's a lot of deleted scenes and a lot of scenes that, like, Scream 4 doesn't make a lot of sense because 3 of the characters, they took out like 7 scenes. So what you see in the movie is a very edited version of some characters, because it's like, if you added in the other 5 minutes, now their characters make more sense. So that's the other thing too, is that unfortunately, the other issue with these movies is between Wes Craven being sick and between him wanting to do other movies, because he even said that he got mad at a convention when somebody said to him, "Why is all you do are horror movies? Can you do something else? If you're so brilliant, can't you do other movies?" Like I said, he was getting sick, and he died of brain cancer. And then between other time commitments of the actors, because you had Courtney Cox with Friends and other. I'm trying to remember the other thing. Like Jada Pinkett is one. What else? Who else is there?
David Arquette.
Yeah,
he was great in the Robert Carlyle movie with Ravenous.
Yeah.
He was a pretty good character in that one too.
So
any chance Susan gets to mention that damned actor.
Oh yeah, the new one had the other famous actress now.
Well, if you're going to talk about, if I was just going to talk about all of these other movies. I'm gonna try
Okay,
and
well,
sneak
anyway.
one or two of my faves in.
In the new version of Scream, which I don't know why they didn't call Scream 5 or Scream Reboot or something else, because that was the other ironic thing about the Weinsteins, especially Bob, who now thankfully is in prison. That Rose McGowan said that he did horrible things to her, and he also went around the talk shows before he got in jail, saying that it actually is wrong that movies are the exact same name. But I go, well, dude, you're assaulting people and threatening people and blackmailing people. That's a lot worse than a movie having the same name.
It's
It
true.
doesn't make any, I mean, it might make sense in a nerd, context, but still, you just check the year. You check the year, you check the actor.
That's what we do.
But I mean, you can figure that out.
We do all these ones that are rebooted and remade. It seems like
so you have the other famous actress now who's also Cuban, Ana de Armas, who was also one of the victims in the new Scream movie.
Okay.
But in any case,
so let's go.
I have noticed that there's a bit of a connection between Carpenter and Craven in most of their movies.
Yeah, there is.
And one of the things is this surname Loomis.
Right.
Because Billy Loomis was here in this one. There was Professor Dr. Loomis in Halloween, and
okay. Loomis, Willie Loomis is the character in Dark Shadows.
Yeah,
that plays the minion, the familiar of Barnabas Collins.
And Carpenter used Nancy Loomis, the actress, in a few of his movies as well.
Yeah. So between Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson, who also wrote Dawson's Creek, so that's where you got a little bit of this 90210 ambiance. And Joshua Jackson was in a lot of the other 90s teen slasher movies, Urban Legend and a couple other ones. And he was in Scream 2, where guess what they're discussing? Aliens. So you also have, like the guy in the YouTube, he mentions the fact that the Scream movies are a pastiche of When a Stranger Calls, Wes Craven movies, Carpenter movies.
Okay.
And also some, what's his name? D'Argento, the Italian horror movie maker, which also Jennifer Connelly was in a few of his movies in the 80s as well. So, of course, because this is super postmodern, you have to have the references to all these movies that are, possibly 20 to 30 to 40 years old. I know.
Yep.
Well, also as well, to make a good movie, you've got to have a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
And any movie what has Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds in it. This one was Red Right Hand. Brilliant. I love Nick Cave. I've got every album by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. That's my sort of music. And it's you even had Alice Cooper in This School's House, and great songs.
Yeah.
So that added to the element of the movie.
I mean, the funny thing is too, they've sort of had a revival again in the 90s of the 70s again. Like you had those movies Dazed and Confused and a couple of other ones that were, basically talking about the 70s.
Dude, where's my car?
Yeah, well, that too. But Parker Posey was in Dazed and Confused. And even if she wasn't, she was in Scream 3 as well. So.
And I really like the character or the actor who plays the character of Zoltan and
Hal Sparks. Yeah.
Hal Sparks. Yeah.
So
he's a fun guy to watch on Twitch. That's for crying out loud.
And he was also in the elevator scene in Spider-Man 2. So
yeah. So anyway, he's a good. So there's a lot of good 90s movies, but this one really started its own kind of genre of being sort of a self-aware of horror movies. It's a movie about horror movies.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that's also where Scary Movie came in.
And that's why Stab is that.
Yeah, Stab's a little weirder.
Anyway, but it's part of it's part of this movie.
Right, it's part of the in-universe, especially in the early movies.
Yeah. So anyway.
So yeah, so you had.
So let Lee speak for just a sec.
Yeah.
Have we done moments? So I can't remember. Have we?
We're just kind of talking around that. Yeah.
So
yeah. The thing. My moment would have to be the friend crawling through the cat door in the garage door and then having it lift up and having it pull her head off. I mean, that was amazing.
Why didn't she just crouch down a little bit further and just go under the door?
And why did she even need to try to go to the door? You know, you could hide in there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a point that other people have mentioned about the beer, that she was throwing the beer at Ghostface,
and then he comes into the other girl's room and he doesn't smell it all like wet or beer, or he doesn't.
That'll have been the other one.
Yeah.
There was two Ghostface.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've done it. They've done it with the other movies as well. That there's more than one person. Just Scream 2, where there's a Ghostface.
Okay.
But there's 10,000 other people because they're watching stab.
Okay.
So there you go.
But yeah, it's this one, as you said, with the Ghostface mask. For me, it just it felt like a Scooby-Doo villain. It just
they would have been able to get away with it if not for all the damn meddling kids.
The meddling kids,
of which those two were part of them.
Well,
it did for me. You know, even the long flowing costume as well. I'm thinking it's a bit Scooby-Doo. And then you had Matthew Lillard in this as Shaggy, but
yeah, it's Michelle Gellar's in the second one. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it hides it does look like the Scooby-Doo cartoon of the 60s, yes. And of course, it's a problem because even with Freddy and maybe, well, not Michael, because Michael has a mask too, and so does Jason. The problem is, the issue with that is, except for Freddy, you can't see any face expressions. You can't. It's only one. So that is a little weird. Whereas if it was a real slasher, a real serial killer, you would actually see the face. Maybe that's why it's scary at the end, because then you see their faces.
Alex, how do you know? You've never really met a serial killer.
No, I'm saying
they might go ahead and wear the stupid mask.
I know,
my God!
But I'm saying that it's scarier because.
Do you know serial killers?
No, but I'm saying that you can see the facial expression, but a mask you can't do that. You can't always see the facial expression. So it's not really human. It's more of a it's not. It's always better when. That's why acting is actually really good, is if you can see somebody's face and their facial expression.
Some of the scarier people, the people with scariness, are people like Vader and Ghostface and Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees and stuff like that. These are people whose faces are missing.
It was also, as I say, it was more Scooby-Doo like. The Ghostface thing was more Scooby-Doo like, and it even got more Scooby-Doo like with the falls it did,
right?
Banging into walls, doors in its face, falling over the beer bottles. Scooby-Doo again.
Well, yeah, I mean, because they never really determine. I don't think, even in the third one, they don't determine of whether you can actually see through the mask or not. Some scenes it looks like they can see through it, and other ones you don't know if they can. And of course, they also have to do it because of the stunt people, because obviously not everybody's going to be that tall or that fast or whatever. But that's also, they made fun of that in the Scary Movie franchise, especially because this was the era of the "What's up?" So they have one scene with his tongue hanging out, holding the phone, going "What's up?" and all that.
Okay,
so people are loving that they were making fun of the Ghostface.
We don't need to drag too much more into it. Talk about the moments in this one.
No, the moments, like I said, I mean, it's funny because even though I don't technically like it, I like it with the, Jamie Kennedy's character, even though he's being too much of a nerd. But I love it with the rules, even though it's too much. I love it when Tatum says, they fired your ass twice. It was a little insensitive with the liver in the mailbox, lady, and all that. Doing the Jerry Lewis voice. I did like I do like the Tatum when she calls what's her name, Sydney, on the phone, going, "You want to see some Tom Cruise butt?" and all that. So that was the other thing. People forgot that the movie was so successful because it was postmodern and it was, very in universe and meta, but it was also doing the flip. Some of the things that were flipping that were usually the guys' things to do.
And the way right, if you do pause it at the right moment, you do see his penis.
Right. So that was right.
The movie's called All the Right Moves, Susan.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So it was good in that too.
Oh, funny.
But yeah, the kills actually weren't great as opposed to other movies. But then the other funny thing was when they cornered Sydney's character, and then she's doing all these kicks, and I'm like, okay, I like that she's winning, but how the hell is she doing all these kicks that are almost bringing him down to the floor, and yet can't have him like unconscious or whatever.
She turned into Buffy.
Right.
She did. She completely did turn into Buffy.
Right. So that was the other, but then I heard people that, did complain about Scream 2 that they didn't think the kills were that great and that were worse than the first one. But like I said, it's a horror movie. And the other thing about all these horror movies and sci-fi movies is that I don't think everybody predicted, and most people didn't, that, you weren't going to have them on the internet, illegally uploaded, on DVD to watch 1,000 times.
Why didn't you think so?
No, because some of the movies they're referencing and some of the other scenes they're doing are actually from the 70s. So unless everybody in that suburb is watching movies from the late 60s, Night of the Living Dead and all these other, which they might be doing, but I don't think it's on everybody's TV channel.
Alex, they used to do those things on late night and just regular cable.
Everywhere?
USA.
Everywhere?
Yeah, everywhere.
Okay. Well, again,
what do you mean everywhere? What do you mean everywhere?
No, up here in Boston they had channels.
No, I'm talking about Montana. I'm talking about the smallest places in the country. Okay.
Well, maybe they were bored. I don't know.
No, Alex, when you get to cable, come on, wake up. It's like it's everywhere.
I know they had cable. Yeah, I used to watch Children of the Corn, which they've also remade. Also,
right. So I'm just saying that it's not something that's so amazing. It's like
okay, and they did have a video store. So unless everybody's watching Carrie and Firestarter and all that, which it might be.
I mean. Yeah, we used to have the best video store, and it's still open to this day in Bozeman.
Okay.
I mean, it's one of the last ones in the country.
Okay, but
and we had cable, and they played USA up all night. Yeah. There was always a good horror movie on that, and then there was always HBO and Cinemax and Showtime. I mean, at some point we have all had all these things. At one point,
well, in Scream, in the first Scream movie, they did not actually say whether they had cable or not. They had a video store. They didn't actually mention it.
So that's enough. Okay.
Anyway. But do you remember them mentioning cable? Because I don't remember them mentioning cable. In this
They don't have to mention it. All they have to do is show a TV with a box on top, and that's cable.
Anyway.
Boom.
You. I mean, what I get from a film school student.
We have to geek out a lot about this stuff. It's okay.
What do you think about the other Scream movies? Have you seen the other ones? Have you seen the recent one?
I haven't seen the recent one, but I've seen a few of the others, but I always say the original one, you can't really top the original ones of any franchise, personally.
Hmm.
Maybe 3, and then after 3, they start to go downhill. Shall we go to final score?
Did you get a chance to say all your bits?
I loved the ending. I loved the twist. I loved the twist of the killer reveal. It was sort of like an Agatha Christie ending twist.
That's true.
There's 2 killers. Because I didn't see that. When I first saw it, I don't think anybody saw it was going to be 2 killers. So that was a bit of originality there, I suppose. It's a fun movie. As I say, the Ghostface costume lets it down for me personally. But some good some great iconic killings, as you say, with the cat flap on the garage door. I think I've said other things, haven't I?
Okay.
So shall we go to final say?
Yeah.
How about you?
All right. Well, go ahead, Alex.
No, I mean, like I said, it did change the game. It was modernizing it. A lot of people, like I said, I like the sequels too. The TV show was sort of disappointing. And then, of course, that's the other problem is that, if you overdo it too much, and it takes some of the fun out of it as well.
Yeah.
They're rushing a new one, which I don't know if that's a good idea. I guess they were very proud of the sales that it had done. And of course, Dewey dies in the last one as well. But yeah, except for a few things like the, who killed who and the, maybe it could have been shorter, but I still liked it a lot. And of course, Scream 2 has some flaws in it. Scream 3 has a lot of flaws in it. Of course, she's in college at this time. Scream 4 was a disappointment because in that one, it was one of her relatives that was the killer. And she just took off the mask, too. But it was also very postmodern and had a lot of postmodern references. And they even start bringing in the internet. And they have, what's the other one? They have a film festival, again, within a film festival. And the ending in part 4 takes place in a hospital. Scream 5, it's in the beginning. In the beginning, they have a hospital scenes, but it's newer characters. And only 3 people have returned in the 5th one. And I guess Neve Campbell's not going to be in the 6th one, so that'll be a change.
Okay.
Loomis comes back in the 5th one as well.
Okay.
But
go back to Scream and
I like seeing it in the theater as well. Back then, you still had to. You didn't have everything streaming and such. So that's another interesting thing. I saw Scream on a plane. That's another interesting thing. I don't know if that's always been true. You can watch a Scream movie while you're on a plane. So I guess that's interesting. When I first saw it, I'd give it a 9. Now I'd probably say, took off the camera.
I did. Let me bounce that back on there.
Now I'd give it a. Okay, so now I'd probably give it an 8 because of the time. But like I said, back then they did revitalize it. They did up the ante, except for the craft. And without this, the movies would definitely not have been as smart. It'd still sort of be in the urban legend type of.
Cameron's coming again.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
So we'd be back in the urban. Even though I like urban legend, it's not as good as Scream. So it did up the ante as far as the
7?
as far as the actual series.
And
it's been
9 for it the first time you watched it.
Yeah, as far as the actual series, if you like the postmodern stuff, Scream 2 is still good, and the opening is still very good. Where they did become meta in that. 3, she's growing up. I can see why a lot of people criticize that movie, Scream 3. Scream 4 was very text, very internet type of thing. It did have some new actresses and some new characters, so that's interesting. But it might be a little too postmodern. It's not as clever as 1, 2, and 3 about the postmodern tributes.
Okay.
And 5, yeah, the similarity is they bring back Loomis.
So that's 5.
Yeah, and the killing at the end is very similar to 1 in terms of the kitchen as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a good series. They're
Okay.
not perfect, but good.
Well, I would give this. I'd give Scream. I'd give this a 10 out of 10 too, because it's real. I mean, the couch party where they're watching the movie and expressing the rules. You know, that part is something that you know.
When the camera went out, I should have gone, and we're right back.
Yeah.
She didn't realize she's doing a tribute to Scream when the camera went out.
Yeah, so I'll give it a 10 out of 10.
And
Camera trucks out of 10. So anyway, yeah, that was.
And of course they're talking about Jamie, and Jamie came back again for a Halloween movie again.
Yep. So yeah.
Me personally, I think I'll give this an 8.5 out of 10. It's okay, but it's a bit comedic in places. Bit, as I say, a bit Scooby Doo. But hey, I'm not knocking Scooby Doo, but if you want a good horror movie, get the comedy things right. And for me, the full villain piece was just too comedic for me to take it seriously.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the rest of the film's fine. So 8.5 from me. So that's our little review of Scream. And what are you grabbing there? Put it back. Put it back. I haven't said anything yet.
This is the part where you cut the camera out.
I'm not even going to tell you when I'm going to say it now.
All right.
So yeah. How very meta.
So yeah, thanks for talking Scream with me, you two. You guys out there, if you've seen Scream, please leave a comment below. If you like it or you hate it, just let us know. It's always good to read comments. Also, messages below if you'd like to join us in this little merry world of geekiness. I would say we're on Insta, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, so you can message us on any of those formats. You just need to be 18 plus, of course. Have a laptop or a PC, tablet, or a mobile phone, camera and microphone, and that's it. And you're in. Get the Zoom app up and running, and you're on. Anything else, Susan?
When you subscribe, hit the bell notification. That's it.
You stole my line.
You asked me to speak. What the heck? Did you want me to just ramble? I'm good at that too.
You usually do. Especially when you start going into your head canon.
Yeah, I have a head canon that Skeet Ulrich, those two boys are hooked up together. That's a head canon. That's my head canon. That they are beginning a romance and well into a bromance.
And they get off on the killing. We solved it already. Yeah, so that's it. I think we've done all the little things. Yeah, done that. We've done the bell, done this. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yep.
So it'll be good night from me, and it'll be good night from you two.
Yep.
until next time when we do a couple more Wes Craven movies. So that's a surprise, but I know what they are. Susan mostly doesn't, but
I don't know. These things and because this is his sort of season, he's deciding these things off of a list that he made a couple of years ago, and it's a list that he really wanted to address, and so he's knocking them down.
it's gonna be Vampire in Brooklyn
Uh-huh.
and Shocker.
Oh, okay. I've never seen Shocker, and I've never seen Vampire in Brooklyn, I don't think. But
Well,
maybe I have. If it's the one I'm thinking of, yeah.
Eddie Murphy
Oh, okay. No, I don't know.
and Shocker is from the 80s as well. So
Okay,
that's
I don't know.
what we do. And I've sorted it all out. It's all in the, you can go into the Skype and it'll
Yep.
be, it's all there.
Sure.
So until next time then, folks, it's been fun. So, seeing you.